Hello, everybody. Welcome to the international edition of Everything in Moderation podcast. This is episode 4. Danny, what are we discussing today?
What's up, everybody? We're talking about the assassination in Iran that happened, a couple weeks ago?
It
It
was
was,
November 27th, I think.
okay, that was
Yeah.
not a couple weeks ago, recent
It was
news.
it was literally over the weekend. I think like as I had I was in the food coma and Black Friday shopping online at the same time. I saw the alert pop up, and you know, I didn't really expect to see that like as like news that would pop up on my phone, but I guess that shows how important that this might be.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was this nuclear scientist guy, who is apparently the Oppenheimer of Iran. His name is Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Hopefully, I got that right. Um, he was taken out through a elaborate intelligence operation that there was actually no one there. If you see any kind of clips or like even talk to any of the Iranian people that were like there, they'll tell you like there was no one there and that it was just a machine gun on top of a car and the car blew up afterwards. It was a very high tech like assassination. So I don't know who pulled that off, uh, but in my opinion, I would say it's definitely Israel with
Yeah,
some kind of technology like from America.
it's I mean, hey, that was straight out of Call of Duty, bro. Like you said when
He
he
got he got sentry turned, dude. Like they had a sentry turret on a car, and then it did exactly what it does in Call of Duty. It blows up afterwards.
when Danny proposed this in the group chat, he literally exact words, bro. It was just like God.
Wait, what exactly? How did he get killed exactly? Was it from a drone
Okay.
attack or like,
So listen, there's three different accounts. There was the initial account. I'm gonna read all of them. So the initial account described a Nissan truck carrying explosives hidden beneath a load of wood that detonated near Fakhrizadeh's car. According to the New York Times and BBC, gunmen then emerged and fired upon Fakhrizadeh's car in response. His bodyguards clashed with the assailants. In the gunfight, 3 bodyguards were killed and the others were wounded. Iranian sources reported that 3 to 4 of the attackers were killed, and that there were also reports of a suicide attacker who later died from his injuries. That was the initial account. Another report describes a team of 12 highly trained special forces. According to the report, they were accompanied by a support team of around 50 personnel who offered logistical support and cut power to the area. As the convoy approached, the Nissan truck detonated to stop the convoy. An assault squad consisting of 2 snipers and 4 gunmen in a Hyundai Santa Fe then fired upon Fakhrizadeh's convoy. 4 motorcycles were also reportedly used by the assailants. Fakhrizadeh was then dragged from his car and shot. This account is partially substantiated by an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps documentary filmmaker. Okay. Well, just saying that report, there's just way too much going on there.
Yeah, it sounds like
sounds
a
like
lot
an
of
action
conflicting.
movie?
It's like,
Yeah,
what's next? They're gonna jump through a hula hoop and like 360 snipe him.
there's also a video of him bleeding out online if you want to watch it. That's why, like, the thing I said is kind of like supported because you don't see anybody really there, and there's not like commotions, there's not gunfire like afterwards
you
because
know,
it really just blew up.
What do
It,
you see in the video exactly?
so you basically you just see a like blood like stream coming down because the road is like downwards,
uh-huh.
and you kind of see like his car, and then it's just video, there's no sound.
The only video I saw was a person taking a video like from like a couple yards like back, like he was pretty far away, so not a couple yards, but like it just saw like you just saw the police sirens and but like you couldn't see anywhere near it. So you're gonna have to share that video with me after because we're not gonna
Yeah, you can find it on Live Leak. That's where I always
live
go.
leak. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Live Leak has all the good content when you're looking at like like revolutions or like out of you kind of battlefield footage.
Yeah,
It's
so that
crazy.
was the thing though is like about this report that I just read. They said that they cut the power, but like it wasn't really night. It wasn't nighttime when it happened. It was like I'd say it was like a dusk or early morning.
Yeah, so the car that blew up was right next to a electric like center. Like those transformers
Yeah.
that like if you blow that out, the whole block goes out. So
Mm.
when the car blew up, it shut off all the power on the block. And then before they were even there, all the security cameras around the area were disabled.
Really? Wow.
Like the level of like intelligence they had to have had on this area is nuts. They've had to completely rework their entire security area. So that's why like I definitely think the United States was involved at least this much, because not only did they just try to do something with Iran, they have in the past, well not recent past.
I wonder, like, I mean, yeah, like there must have been crazy amount of intelligence because it's not like this guy is pretty low key from what I understand. Iran like uses like they say that he's like a school teacher and that's like the cover up. Um, but
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's not like it's not like, oh, like the president is going here at this time. It's like kind of like it must have been someone that is close or has some sort of idea of like what his
Yeah.
schedule is
Well,
like.
one thing is Israeli like spy operations are nuts. Like the soldiers trained in that like group. You can look them up. They're actually on a few episodes of that one History Channel show where they like set up two like groups of people and they fight together. They're on that, but they're like an insane military group. Like it's like Navy SEALs on drugs.
Oh,
Like
really?
those people like go through crazy stuff in the desert. I don't even know. But yeah, they have to be like that just because of the nature of Israel.
So the now for like the actual story. So there it said later another contradictory account emerged when the foreign news agency reported that no gunmen were present and that only a remote controlled machine gun mounted on a Nissan was used in the attack. In this account, Fakhrizadeh, possibly mistaking gunfire, exited his vehicle after he believed it struck something. The automatic gun, controlled by a satellite, then struck him several times from a distance of 150 meters. Soon after, the Nissan truck carrying the gun detonated. The entire attack lasted around 3 minutes, and this account was corroborated by Ali Shamkhani of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. So, first off, 150 meters, that's pretty freaking long. Like for like something that's just remote controlled, technology's getting scary, man.
It's been scary.
Yeah.
You ever watch that little fiction on YouTube about the mini drones? It's like a I guess independent movie you'd call it. It's just like 15 minutes. It's crazy. It's they take like little drone tech and they just put blasting caps on it and just kill a person instantly. You get swarm of those. It's crazy. So we're definitely there in tech wise. We've probably been past it for 10 years now. It's just that it's weird that we wouldn't use drones just because we do that all the time in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's actually I had a few questions about this. Just the way the accounts are telling the story, how two of them were on foot and one of them was using like some super advanced technology, at least to us, to our knowledge. To what Danny said, don't we usually just use drone attacks? Why would we use a sentry? One being that, like we said before, it's 150 meters. Besides killing our target, we could have also killed civilians. And I don't think Americans, or at least the United States doesn't really do that type of work, putting at risk civilians, people that are not part of the target, right?
So
now,
to answer your question real quick, if you don't mind me, the reason why I think that is because this wasn't an American attack. This is an Israeli attack that America supported. Like I guarantee you, almost all technology and the people that needed to do this, because you can't just have no boots on the ground when it comes to taking out a whole camera like area, they definitely had people like that, like people in support, but everything was set by the Israeli forces. So that's why you don't see drone strike. Because if it was us, we'd just be like, fuck it, let's go.
But I feel like there was an underlying message in that. Like, I get the United States gave the intelligence, they organized it, they probably supplied like the weaponry, right, as well. Basically, we did all the work, and we just said, "Hey, Israel, take the credit for it," right?
Dude, welcome to Cold War 2.0.
But
Well, according to a report by Forbes, I saw this when I was just preparing for this episode. Machine guns and other remote-controlled ground weapons are actually widely used across the Middle East. So
by the United States,
no, like from other countries. And if Forbes would let me actually look at this article without paying for it, that would be nice. But I think here, hold on. Let me try to send this link to one of you, and then maybe you guys could pull it up because I think it says that I limit
you have
each-
four per day.
Yeah, I didn't even look at four per day today. Unless I did, I don't know. School's-
Also, another thing, it's like about this guy Fakhrizadeh, right? He was supposed to be a low profile, but we still kept him as a person of interest, right? We kept
Yeah.
supervising, surveilling him and everything. But we also thought that he was part of another program because I think he was part of the program that was shut down in 2003. But they said that program continued and was just labeled under something else as a non-military nuclear program, and that the U.S. intelligence thought it was like a cover up for an eventual weapons project. So what do you guys think about that? Like, it was like Iran wasn't following through with the actual plan that they were supposed to be following, or the deal that they were supposed to be following.
Well, I think that was primarily one of the reasons that Trump abandoned that nuclear accord, because it was just like fallacy, like on the very like
Because they
foundation.
broke it on multiple levels. Like they weren't keeping up with the uranium
Enrichment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like how all that works, right, is we had a level of enrichment that they can get to. And then there's a time span that at that point that they could make nuclear weapons. At that point, it was a year. And then under Obama, late into his term, they made it increase. And then it went to 3 months. They could have made a nuclear bomb. Right. And then, then there was tension in the accord. But then they were like going down because they're getting a lot of pressure from them, from like just like all the nations. Like there'll be a bunch of sanctions on them. And they were kind of like, fuck, we can't do this anymore. And then Trump pulled out of that accord, and then they're free, and they'll just do that, right? So being in an accord like that is definitely useful. It's definitely not foolproof.
Yeah.
But you want to have some kind of agreement and then some way to check on them, because Iran with a nuclear weapon, they're going to use it immediately, and they have one nation in the sight, and you know what it is. And that's specifically why Israel is like targeting them like this, because they just can't.
I mean, I totally like if this wasn't an Israeli attack, I could totally see why. Iran claims that like their nuclear science department is like all for defense and for peace, but I don't understand how nukes are peaceful. I guess that there's some degree of like I understand the defensive part end of it. It's just like, if a country invades you, you're like, listen, I have this here. It'll reach you in this amount of time, like whatever. I read that they have enough uranium to create 2. That was the last thing I saw. I'm not sure if that was correct, but
I don't think they have like the missile to carry it.
Yeah.
At least at this that's threatening.
So what they would need to do is they would need to enrich the uranium to the point that they can actually use it in a bomb, just because you can't have a lot of uranium on like to actually, make a nuclear bomb, but it needs to be like completely enriched and ready. Like, that's why we were monitoring those levels, because if they had stuff like that, then we had to be like, okay, they're ready to make a bomb. But their missiles are very small as well. They're not like ours, where we can put a like decent amount in them. They need a small missiles, and they're not going to be like huge. They're going to probably be like World War II missiles, honestly, just because of like the technology they have.
So you would think that this would be sort of like the nuclear bomb, like that we detonated on Japan.
Slightly more advanced, just because the technology that they're using.
Have you guys ever heard of the SAR bomba?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's what any nuclear footage is crazy. You just see the destruction.
Yeah, definitely some Crazy stuff. So we do we think that Israel was the ones who did it?
I would say yes, but assisted by the U.S.
I feel like they took the credit for it.
Speculation.
Iran seems to think it was Israel. They immediately like pointed fingers at them, and they said that they would get revenge for Fakhrizadeh's death. So
they also included the U.S. as well.
Yes,
but that's just that. Honestly, like if the people of Iran don't want to mess with the U.S. anymore, and I don't blame them. And the U.S. also the people don't want to mess with them, but for some reason we're still in there. I don't know why.
I heard an account that there was protests and that like the Iranian protesters were burning U.S. and Israeli flags, but I'm not too sure about that. I never saw that again. Like I only saw one account of that.
I mean, imagine being an Iranian citizen right now.
Yeah.
Flip the switch. Like put yourselves in the shoes of one of them. Oh, okay, one of my generals just got like literally bombed by the president of the United States. So he just said fuck him, right? Mm-hmm. And then what happens after that is they kill the top nuclear scientists. So of course, Iran's going to be extremely mad at that. Mm-hmm. And all the citizens are also going to be mad. I mean, the last time they got mad though, they had Al-Qaeda, which was, a whole nother story,
Would you say,
Lewis, go ahead.
Yeah. Would you say that the citizens are mad, the state is mad, or both of them are mad?
Both of them. Both of them are steaming. 100%.
Do you really think it really affects them in that sense that they really feel an impact from it?
Well, here's the thing. Like, there's been warfare in that region for so long that a lot of people are just tired of it. So there's going to be a level of that. But, like, are you really going to take this from, like, especially, like, Israel in their case? Because that's a nation they just have been, like, on a conquest for ever trying to get into, right? But, like, they can't do anything really to America except, threats. And the people will obviously always just kind of, like, hate Americans because we've been there for so long and we've caused so much damage.
Do we think that, like, attacks like this could cause, like, another terrorist organization to rise up?
It took one rich construction guy. That was Osama bin Laden. He was just like the son of some construction owner, and he was like, you know what? Let me go, to Iraq real quick, build up an army. It doesn't take much, especially like if it, things are getting hot, because then a leader like that can just emerge.
That's what's like peculiar about like bombing like the general. Like, I mean, it's a general, I guess, but I don't understand the actual point of just.
I mean, he was also labeled a terrorist, and for a good reason too. Just some of the things that he's done.
Why was he labeled a terrorist though?
I mean, just general like shit, man. Like he's definitely like.
I know this state
being involved in killing like the United States soldiers. Or like ransoming them off as well. They sometimes do that, or he did at least. He just, he just wasn't a necessary bad guy to take out. You know what I mean? I could see why Israel thought the nuclear scientist was a pressing matter, but
I don't know. I'm trying to understand the attack because you can always replace him. He's a replaceable guy. It's not like he was on the verge of something amazing in weaponry, but I think it was just a message to say, hey, Iran, we're here and you can't do anything about it. I think that's the big picture that they want to send. That's it. Like, you're probably not following the deal, that's worthless, but we can do this to you and you can't do anything to us.
It's funny. That's how Israel projects themselves to every single nation around them. It's crazy. I mean, look at like the Gaza Strip, man. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Do you feel like Israel gets that from like their own military, or like with us as an ally as well?
Gets what?
Like that confidence.
Probably they know that not only us, other members of the international community are backing them. And I mean, here's the thing, that only goes so far, right? I mean, who's to say we put boots on the ground if that, a like Iranian attack was supported by like Russia,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Who are actually Iran's allies?
I mean, in an
Yep.
element, Russia will always be, just because they've been in the region for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And like obviously they were, revolted, but they still remain a presence there, just because like you hear all the reports of them trying to, bounty off United States soldiers. It's just kind of like that kind of involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Like Russia likes to not get directly involved in anything anymore. They just
No.
meta
Yeah.
stuff.
So
You saw,
there's three allies. It's Lebanon, Russia, and Venezuela, according to Investopedia.
Yeah.
you saw how like Russia, we will talk about like what happened in like Armenia and like what has been going on with that. But like Russia got involved with that and was just like, hey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, just cut it out. And then
Yep.
just they made them make some sort of deal. And, certain parties were upset with what happened. But, so that's like what I think that's what like Russia's effect is like they're kind of like, they're pretty much like a United States of the East.
Russia's like a KGB agent because it's ran by a KGB agent.
Yes.
Like it's just in the shadows, and like it will just like all these meta nations, they'll just be like, "Hey, stop, or we'll just crush you,"
Yeah.
because we've done it before and you've seen it.
Do we think that China has gotten to that level of like, I'm just going to crush you and there's nothing you can do about it?
China doesn't play games like that. China's the reason why they call China the sleeping giant is because all they do is just like economically play in other nations, and then like say if like some nations actually like going and being aggressive towards them, then they'll like actually start fighting. Like if a good example is the Korean War, right? Like they were fighting, we entered, and then China didn't do anything, even though they were allies. But when they got right to the corner, they were like, "All right, no." Right? They're like, "We'll go straight to war," and America was like, "Oh, no, not doing this." So
I had my great uncle served in Korea, so
yeah, Korean War was a very interesting war.
that's not one that's really talked enough about. There's a lot of like implications to that, but maybe we'll get to that one time. Maybe we'll do like some history a little bit sometimes. We're trying to do that right now, but so now this brings us to this question: what will Biden do about Iran?
Same thing as Obama did.
What was that, Lewis? What was the last part? I didn't hear you.
Just do the same deal, basically.
Just reset.
Minor changes, but like it's going to be the same basis, same foundation.
I think that's like sort of a good thing in a way with the accord, because at least like as Danny said in the beginning, that at least you have like that document to check them.
Yeah.
Just allowing them to like run free willy-nilly isn't necessarily.
The problem though is that I don't think they're going to be in any rush to go get an accord with us after we just, messed around with them for 4 years, because we really, pressed them hard for 4 years. Like they were getting sanctioned, like they couldn't even get medicine just because we were like, F you guys. We're sanctioning you and we're pulling out of the nuclear agreement. We don't care anymore. So they're just like, now what do we do?
Yeah.
So they're going to be in no rush to get into any deal with us. And to be honest, like if that nuclear scientist didn't get assassinated, who knows what could have happened. That's why I'm like, it's weird to even think like that, because obviously like this any kind of assassination is not a good thing because it increases tensions in nations. But maybe in some way Israel tried to act like the good actor, but you're not going to look like it on the world stage.
Do you think that there will actually be someone to quote unquote take credit for it?
I mean, it's just going to be put on Israel at this point. They're not going to say it though. That's, you know, obviously they're not going to come out and like, you know, draw tensions even more, because, you know, they don't want like full on war, you know, just
Yeah,
because they're, you know, at war already. They're getting bombed constantly. It's just that they got the technology to defend against it.
Israel has too many people around them that want to kill them. So it's best that they, you know, like I mean, they made that UAE peace deal a couple months ago. Yeah, I think it was a couple months ago. But like that was pretty positive signs because that was like the first like Arab nation that they actually like made peace with. And then, you know, it was interesting is um a certain amount of like the Arab community criticized the UAE for actually getting into that. It's like, oh, like you're in bed with our oppressors or whatever. So that's pretty interesting. So
I
now
think the reason why they say that is because a lot of people, like on the Gaza Strip, for example, they're like, this solves no problems for me.
uh-huh.
I'm still going to be in the same situation as I have been, and people are still going to be randomly killing my friends.
Mhm.
You know, that's probably why. Obviously, a good deal, like a deal like this in general, is a good thing, but unless you have actual reform on paper, you know, they're still going to be bad.
Supposedly, one of the stipulations of that deal was that Israel had to stop seizure of the Gaza Strip, like temporarily, though. So,
Yeah.
like you know, it was just like it's a band-aid.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not doesn't solve the problem.
So, do we think that peace will ever come to the Middle East?
Probably
I
not. Things
mean, I'll
happen for a
judge it by the
reason.
past, man.
Yeah.
Judge it by what has happened in the Middle East in history, and you'll see what probably is going to be continued future. And you know what? I don't even blame it on the countries and the citizens. I blame it on people trying to play, you know, games. Like it's like they're pawns in the, you know, main world power chessboard. I mean, just look at their history. It's just been plagued with countries invading them, and then they're just like, okay,
Yeah.
you deal with this threat now, this threat now. It's why a lot
Do
of
you
their
think it's
infrastructure is really bad.
so, Danny? Do you think it's not fixable? Like, say, some foreign third party comes in and says, "Let's try this system." You don't think it's fixable?
I mean, I would say that yeah, you can fix it, but that would be extremely hopeful. That's like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go fix world hunger," only because like all nations would have to play diplomatically, like softball. There's no hard power and there's no soft power in that play, right? There's no killing of anybody. It's all diplomatic allies for like anything that occur like that in the Middle East. You know, I mean, and then there's also religious tension.
Mm,
That's a huge factor in why that tension between Israel and Iran even is there.
yes. Do you think that the religious factor could somehow have less influence on years to come? Because I feel like most of the world is progressively moving away from a sort of religion, whereas the Middle East, I feel like religion will always be the center and core of everything. Um, I because that's like what their most laws are built around.
Yeah, like it's literally built in their infrastructure, into their constitution as well. Like that's why, like, you talk to any people that are like in business or like do international business, they'll talk to you about the difficulties with, you know, getting any kind of like capital there or trying to do anything like in the Middle East because it's very hard. There's not like any kind of stock system there, you know. There's no
Are
way
you,
to really invest.
are you talking about religion influence from Western or just the Middle East in general?
I was just talking about Middle East, like their whole economic structure.
Oh no, I was referring to like the Lucas initial question though. I understood what you were meant, Danny, though I completely agree on
it
that.
was it was just that like the religious tension. if there is no like if
religion losing the influence as the years go
here,
on.
like the religion losing influence here, and then
Oh,
us going to the Middle East and just being like, hey, like we really don't care about religion. Like we just want to bring peace to this like area. Do you think that that's like possible? I don't really think it's like not with us at least. I don't really think it's a religion issue. I think with Israel and other Middle Eastern countries, it is an issue, obviously. But I feel like for us, it's not really that big of a problem. I feel
The
like
best thing we could do is get out.
yeah,
Best thing all countries could do, besides probably Israel, because they're in direct conflict with them, is get out. Because the less people there, the less room they have, or the more room they have, rather. And like, obviously, the conflict between Israel and Iran is not going to get fixed. Like, I wouldn't even
so
say in the long term.
so if we pull out, you think they're going to fix their issue, or they're just going to continue?
They're going to continue. That's
Just
the best. That's the best case scenario, right? I don't know how you fix that. You need some kind of like miracle, like I don't know. Jesus and Muhammad need to come down. Not Jesus, actually, God, because they're Jews. God and Muhammad need to come down and be like, "Hey, listen, you're good guys. Let's go, wake up."
No, I mean, I agree with having less people involved will fix the issue in the long run, simply because when you have less people talking and discussing about the situation, they usually can come to an agreement. But when there's three people within it, there's usually that car that's always just flying around with a third person, you know?
and then like when you have like peace agreements like in process, and then some like person gets killed in the midst of it, they're like, all right, well now fuck you, like we have to go take care of this now. So, and it's not necessarily like it could always be like an insurgent group that could make some issues. Like it could be like, oh, like Israel's trying to make peace with this country or whatever. But then like an insurgent group like kills like one of the diplomats. And then now it's like, all right, well, control your fucking country, control the people in your country. And now we don't want to do peace with you anymore. So like there's too much there's too much hands dipped in. And like I think the chess analogy that Danny brought up was excellent. They're like in the middle of the board, and then like mid game it just gets so fucking crowded, and
Yeah.
any move could be punished. So that's all we have, I guess, unless anyone else has anything to add.
Not for now.
No, yeah. Definitely keep an eye on this situation. I know that Israel sent an embassy alert to all of its satellite embassies in different countries and to smaller Jewish communities to be on high alert due to this and a like in the far right threat too. So if you're Jewish, watch out, exercise caution. But as for everyone else, please keep an eye on this. This is we talk about international news not because we just wanted to diversify our show. We talk about it because there are important things that happen and affects the United States as well. So that's why we're here. We entertain and inform. All right, boys. Thank you. And thank you all for listening, and see you guys next Friday.
All right.
See ya.
See you later.